Hey everyone, and welcome to the first episode of A Conservative America. I'm Matt Masucci, and I will be your host today. James is my partner in this, and he could not be here today. He had a previous commitment, but we'll get the show going just the same. So I wanted to talk today about who we are and what we do as an organization. And what we've done is we started with a YouTube channel around the time of the election because James and I both discovered that we were passionate about politics and we wanted to spread our knowledge that we had throughout America, and hopefully someday maybe even have our own radio show. And this is the first big step we've taken in that direction. So after the election, we really didn't have a whole lot to talk about, so we kind of took a bit of a break from this. And for a long time, which I think since November, we haven't really done anything. But a couple days ago, Sam Whitfield from Next Gen Conservative, and check his show out. He's great. I'll give you guys my Twitter later and show you how to contact him and figure out how to watch him. He does a really good job. But so we contacted him, and we discovered that he wanted to work with us. His website is called Next Gen Conservative, or his art organization, and what they're trying to do is spread the conservative movement among people that are going to be first-time voters in the next election. So that being said, James and I were both very excited to hear that we were going to be able to work with these guys, because they're really great guys. They know their stuff, and like I said, I'm really excited to work with them. What you can expect from us is that we're gonna do two things mainly, which are political commentary and sports talk. And today we're not really going to be doing so much of the sports talk. I really only have one thing I want to talk about as far as political commentary goes, but we'll see where this goes. We're probably going to be doing about one show a week, and for about a half-hour show, because with Spreaker, our limit is a half hour a day. So, like that being said, we're gonna just go ahead and get into this. First thing I wanted to talk about today was 2016, and I know that's a long way away. It's still 3 years away, but the primaries will be here sooner than you expect. And I wanted to talk about who I think will be some of the candidates for the Republican Party in 2016. My front runner is Rand Paul, senator from Kentucky. My second choice would be Marco Rubio, senator from Florida, and I have a sleeper pick that I'll get to in a minute. But first, I want to talk about Rand Paul. You probably know who he is as the son of Ron Paul, former congressman and former presidential candidate who never made it past the primaries. But Rand Paul is a lot less libertarian than his dad. He has much more conservative beliefs, and his foreign policy isn't quite as extreme. He really knows what he's talking about when it comes to the economy, though, and that's really what we need right now, is someone who can step right in from the get-go and fix the economy. He also, in a debate, seems like he is always on the attack in the debates, which I really think the Republican Party needs, because if the Democratic Party is going to continue to run these attack campaigns and attack in the debates like they did, then someone who can defend themselves and do the same thing back to them is very important. If you check out his YouTube channel, just search Rand Paul on YouTube, and his YouTube channel is Senator Rand Paul. He's got some videos where he explains some of the things that are going on in the government today, and he really does a good job of explaining these things in terms that everybody can understand, while at the same time really getting the message across, which is a very important skill for a politician. He also will get the party a lot of the libertarian votes that Ron Paul would have gotten, and that's very important in this election, because I think that if Romney had gotten the libertarian vote, a significant majority of it, he probably would have won the election. The Libertarian Party is growing rapidly in today's world, and it's very important to tap that base and figure out how to get those votes. They always talk about the Latino vote, the black vote. I think the libertarian vote is one of the most important votes in the country to get. So I'm going to cut to a quick commercial here, and then when we come back, I'll talk about Rubio and then my sleeper pick. All right, and we're back. So the next guy I wanted to talk about is Marco Rubio, and this is a guy who I've really liked ever since the speculation that he was going to be Romney's VP pick, which never really ended up happening. But I think in retrospect, he could have been a very good vice presidential candidate. He's a senator from Florida. For those of you who aren't familiar with him, he is of Cuban descent, and his parents immigrated here, and his grandparents did. He's someone who really understands that America is the greatest country on the planet and in the history of the planet. And the big thing he always talks about is how in other countries you can't go from being a nobody to all of a sudden making a name for yourself. In most countries throughout history and in the world today, your success is generally determined by your birth and who you are, and not what you accomplished. And he really understands that in America, you can go as far as your talents and your hard work will take you. And that's something that President Obama seems to lack, because it's his famous statement of, "You didn't build that." He doesn't understand that in America, everything that we've done has been through the work of just normal everyday citizens. Our innovation, you look at people like Thomas Edison and the Wright brothers and famous innovators throughout history. A lot of them were American, because in our free market system, you can make it big from having a good idea and working hard towards it. And that's something we've kind of gotten away from in the last few years. If you look at our job situation, a lot of jobs are going downhill because we're not innovating as much as we did. And another thing is, we're not allowing that innovation, and we're not nurturing that, because it's so hard to start a business nowadays with all the taxes there are. And Rubio really understands this. He really likes having business just thrive on its own without government intervention. And that's something that we really need, because businesses are suffocating nowadays because of things like Obamacare, which requires businesses with more than 50 employees to have to pay health benefits, or things like the tax increase on pretty much everybody. I mean, I know my mom came home a couple of days ago and told me how her paycheck went down a significant amount because of these tax increases. The other thing I like about Rubio and Rand Paul especially is, if you look at the chart of how the senators voted for the debt limit increase, Rubio and Rand Paul were two of like 6 or 7 senators that didn't vote for the debt limit increase. Another popular candidate that comes up all the time is Rob Portman, the senator from Ohio, and he actually voted to increase the debt limit. So it just goes to show how Rubio and Rand Paul are people that will stick up for their beliefs and not care what the popular decision is. They will not compromise their beliefs. All right, and the third guy I wanted to talk about is my sleeper pick for the election. There's a good chance you won't even see him involved in it at all, but he's someone I'd really like to see run the country in the future, and that is Ohio Governor John Kasich. If you look at Kasich's record, when he took over, Ohio had a high unemployment. I'm not entirely sure what the number is, but now it's down to 6.9%, compared to 7.7% nationally. Kasich knows that businesses create jobs, not the government. He reduced taxes on businesses. He gave small business an environment where it could thrive and where people could succeed and start a business easily. He also did something very important, which is he reduced the government workforce by 7.6%. Now, this may not seem like a big deal, but the government workforce is paid by the government, and when we're in a situation where we're spending more money than we're taking in, then yeah, having the government workforce be smaller is very important. So that's what I wanted to talk about as far as 2016 goes. I'm actually going to move on here to a little bit of sports talk and just give you guys some basic information about what we're going to be doing. James, when he gets back, he and I will both be talking about the 3 major sports of baseball, basketball, and football. And as I'm sure you guys all know, the key event that's coming up right now is the Super Bowl. And I just wanted to start out and give my pick for that game. I like the 49ers over the Ravens. I like the 49ers winning 28-17. I think if you look at the two teams, the quarterbacks really tell the story of this game. I think Colin Kaepernick has the potential to be an elite quarterback in this league and really shape the position for years to come. There's not many quarterbacks in this league that can be successful by both running and throwing. A couple examples are RG3, and I really wouldn't throw Michael Vick into that mix because I don't think he's been as successful as people make him out to be. But Colin Kaepernick, in his playoff debut, broke the QB rushing record in a game, both regular season and playoffs, with over 180 yards. He also threw for, I think, 200 yards, 200 plus yards, and led his team to a victory against the Packers. However, on the other hand, with the Ravens, you got Joe Flacco, and the big play with Flacco in the Patriots game was a Hail Mary, and if you look at the throw, it was underthrown. The big long catch at the end of the game that won them the game, or sorry, this was against the Broncos. I don't know what I'm talking about. This was against the Broncos. The catch was made, and it gave the lead to the Ravens towards the end of the game, but the ball was severely underthrown, and the wide receiver had to make a great play on the ball in order to catch it. You see examples of this with Flacco all the time where he just does not throw the ball as well as every other quarterback in the league. He's only a good quarterback on a great team. And the Ravens are a phenomenal defensive team, but I don't think they have the offensive firepower to stand with a defense that's as good as San Francisco's, and San Francisco has an offense to go with it. All right, so I'm going to cut to another commercial break here, and I'll come back shortly. And welcome back to A Conservative America, and right now we're talking some sports. Something that's been in the news lately about sports is Junior Seau's family suing the NFL for a wrongful death. Now, I don't think this is a good move by their family, and I disagree with it because, when Junior Seau came into the league, he knew what he was signing up for. You can't tell me that he didn't know that getting hit in the head really hard was going to hurt his brain in the future. I mean, that's common sense. Now, he knew what he signed up for, and he reaped the benefits of it. He got paid a good amount of money for his entire life just to play a game. But now he killed himself, which is how he died, which is a horrible tragedy, but at the same time, I don't think it's the NFL's fault. The family is acting as though the NFL provided no information that concussions had negative impacts on the brain, and they would put Seau in games despite him having a concussion. First off, it's Seau's discretion as to whether or not he plays. There's no one that can force you to do anything. That's something, if you listen to my show regularly, you're going to understand that I am a strict believer in you are responsible for your own actions, and no one else can be responsible for what you do. Now, Seau definitely took some blows to the head, but that's not a reason for him to sue the NFL for his death being wrongful. The NFL is not at fault for his death. Another thing that's been in the news a lot lately and has been the subject of much criticism is the whole Manti Te'o situation. Now, you really couldn't even script this situation in Hollywood. It's crazy. No one really even knows what's going on. But for those of you who aren't aware of it, again, Manti Te'o is a linebacker for Notre Dame. He around the middle of the season, it was announced that his grandmother and his girlfriend had both passed away on the same day from leukemia, and he became a national icon and hero because he went out and had one of the best games of his life after this news had reached him. And a little bit ago, it came out that his girlfriend never existed, and that she was made up by some guy and who was trying to pull a prank on this guy. And what's surfacing is that there were hundreds of hours of phone calls between these two, and that there was one even pretending to be this girl on the phone. And it was a pretty elaborate prank. And Manti Te'o is coming out, and he said he knew about it back in December, but it's just now leaking. The problem is that he didn't come right out and say what was going on. And this was in the midst of the Heisman ceremonies and before the national championship. And it really looks bad on him that he was hiding this from the news just to keep himself in the public eye as a respectable figure. But in the long run, that kind of hurt him because now he's coming out and people are really hating him because